What's up?
I put my headphones in literally on the last beat of the song.
I saw that. You didn't have them before. Oh, of course.
No, I had to grab a
White Claw.
I can finally enjoy myself for all of 10
What
minutes.
flavor?
Maybe.
What flavor are we
this
drinking?
is their lemonade refresher series, and this is strawberry kiwi.
You don't remember which one I was drinking and actually liked the last time I was there, or did I not like anything at all?
No, you liked it. You liked the refresher.
Okay.
Amelia said you. I wasn't there, so Amelia did confirm you liked the refresher ones.
Okay.
Could have been blood orange. Could have been lemonade.
I trust it because Amelia said that. If you said that.
High Noon. Sorry, I take it back. You didn't like refresher. You liked High Noon, and High Noon is also very good.
This tracks. I believe this statement.
Yeah, but anyway, I enjoy this, and I need this.
You've earned it. You've moved. You work hard. That is what you deserve.
I was up until 2 a.m. assembling display boxes for my shoes.
That is the most on-brand statement I think you could have said.
Yep.
How's it all looking? You feeling good? Is it starting to feel like home?
Yes, it's feeling better. I am looking directly at all of my Blu-rays on a shelf now, so that is a step up.
It's a big step. Things
are looking more like, it's less boxes, more actual furniture and things set up. So we're doing okay. I got a rower yesterday, got a bunch of potters and stuff. So it's been fun.
Very exciting.
Got two of them actually. So
2 of them.
Thanks to Amazon.
Are you serious?
Yeah, just hilarious.
Did you get charged? That is kind of hilarious.
Lol.
I'm very amused by this.
Lol.
Well, that's a plus. I feel like that's a good omen.
I guess so.
You got something for free. You ever get those things from Amazon where, like, it's that? I feel like we've talked about this on Merri Hour, where it's that popular scam where they send you shit that you didn't order because it benefits the company that sells them.
Yeah, I've never. You've talked about it multiple times. I have never had that.
My mom got one today.
Really?
She opened a package, and like, no offense to anyone who owns something like this, but it's just definitely not something my mom would ever order. Yeah. She opened a package, and it was like a silk scarf with horses on it.
So like they just send it? Like literally they don't tell you.
I forget the reasoning now. Like I think they send them, and there's something about, the fact that it still registers as a sale that benefits them, even though technically no one, like a customer, didn't buy it. I don't know, something like that. I could Google it later.
God bless. Yes, no, that has never happened to me.
Strange businesses.
If you ever see me start wearing horse scarves,
yeah,
and then I've been
you are got by the same scam. There's a lot of people here watching live.
What up?
Hello. What's up, Matt? How are you doing? We have so many people here. How are you all? Happy Friday. Happy weekend. And a super chat. Hey, Perri and Matt. Hope you're doing great. Hope you're doing great too, Vincent. Hope you had a good week, and hope you have a wonderful weekend planned ahead of you. We've got stuff to talk about. What are we talking about? Yeah, there's like a lot of stuff. I mean, do you want to just start by talking about box office?
Yeah, absolutely.
Shit's weird right now. It's all over the place.
Shit's weird. Shit's all over the place. And also, once again, like, maybe this is a shift in trends. Like maybe this can be something that does change things, because it's like, can studios keep financially putting $300 million into a movie only to make two? Like, yeah, like.
I mean, whether we're talking about now or however many years ago, I still think that was like a piss poor business practice, because I don't know. I mean, maybe I shouldn't speak to it like this because it's not like I was on set or involved in the filmmaking process, but I guess I just have a hard time believing that any production warrants a $300 million production budget. Like, there has to be creative solutions in order to bring that number down, where it doesn't necessitate that money be spent,
It's like setting yourself up for failure. Like, legitimately, I know these movies have built-in fan bases. I know these movies are banking on nostalgia and all those things that are buzzwords right now for studios to make a movie on. Sorry, Rogers is trying to figure out how to walk by me.
He's still
But
learning his
yeah,
new home and how to navigate it.
but yeah, I mean, again, like you're just shooting yourself in the foot at that point because, like, just to make your break-even point be like 300 million. I mean, like, what kind of profit do you think you're really going to turn on that?
Yeah, it is a confusing choice to me. And there are some movies that have come out this summer that have wound up being international successes. Like even something like I don't have the exact numbers on me right now, but how Transformers did domestically versus internationally. I think
Mm-hmm.
ultimately it made something like, now I don't want to say this without knowing for sure. But it made enough.
Yeah, sorry,
Man,
I'm
I hate box
afraid to go
office.
off my
I hate
my
box
screen.
office. No, it makes sense. I just like I used to be able to look up these stats in a flash, and now
Oh
box
yeah,
office mojo just makes it absolutely impossible. Yeah, I would have said the wrong number. Transformers Rise of the Beast is currently at 141 million domestically, and then internationally it's got 245, so it's just shy-ish of 400 million worldwide. And they don't display the estimated budget anymore. So now
yeah.
I gotta go over to Wikipedia to find that very quickly.
Yeah, but I mean, like we even domestic, like we can say domestically, that's not where I would assume a Transformers movie would be,
Well,
based on previous performance
it's
and
lower
whatnot.
than the other ones. The
Yeah,
budget on Wikipedia is ranging from 195 to $200 million. So it is doubling the production budget
yeah,
ultimately, but
but
you know,
that's with international. I mean, like again, like international is always there, but like again, I would expect more from
well,
that
it's not
domestically.
always there.
Not always,
Wasn't
you're
there
right.
for Little Mermaid.
That is true.
Um, just so we can revisit some of the biggest titles. I mean, the summer season officially kicked off with Guardians, which is the most successful, one of the most successful, at
Hmm.
least, of the bunch still.
Hmm.
It's got 838 million worldwide. So that was a big win.
Yeah.
And then there's nothing the next weekend. And then Fast 10. Fast 10 is another one that had a rough go of it.
Hmm.
I mean, it had a rough go of it domestic. Domestic, it's
Yeah.
sitting at 145 right now, but internationally, it made 554, which puts it at 700. That's the number I was about to repeat for Transformers. 700 million worldwide, which is like a solid number, even though it's lower than other Fast movies. It's still a solid number. But then you consider the movie's budget, which again, a reported budget as listed on Wikipedia is $340 million. So it's like, at a point, what is the point of spending all that money because it cuts your profits so significantly?
Yeah, and like I'm just thinking too, because if we're talking domestic and all those things, like, internationally, people are still showing up for movies, showing up for the theaters and stuff of that nature, and like, has the streaming model here really done more damage than we think to like theatrical experiences and like people actually going to the movies? Not a bad way, not in a, just in a conversational way.
I mean,
Like, has the mentality literally turned into, why would I go to the movies when it's going to hit via, like a Shazam or the Flash or something of that nature? Like, why do I have to go see this in theaters when it's just going to hit Max?
yeah. I mean, it's a good point. As you were explaining that, I was trying to, think through what is the biggest difference between saying that now with a streaming service versus
Mm-hmm.
saying it however many years ago with something coming out on
Yeah.
DVD and Blu-ray. And I think it ties into the fact that nowadays our lifestyle is everything is at our fingertips, just a click away. And that's very different than going out and buying a DVD or ordering one to your home and putting it in the player and pressing play. So I just think that like now mentality so much of us have, I think that fuels the interest in waiting to be able to click the button more so than it did in years past in terms of waiting in order to get the DVD. And then also you could bring in the shrinking release windows in that respect
Yeah.
too, which means you'll get that content sooner if you just wait.
Yeah. I mean,
Sooner,
because like,
sooner and cheaper.
I will admit 100%, like for a few of the films that I didn't get to see via a screening, because I am a critic and like, we have press screenings, but like the few that I didn't, something like a Shazam, I immediately was like, oh, well, I'm not going to go rush out to see this in a theater. It's going to be on Max and again, 45 days or whatever that is. So, I mean, like even my mentality has changed on that. And I try so hard to like every time I watch something, I make sure I at least go rent it, on VOD or something, or however I can give some money to it. But it's just the convenience factor of it all is like, I'm seeing that happen in the background, just waiting.
I don't get it. Like he very rarely touched anything on here, and for whatever reason, all the ghost face things, he just like, and it's like it's plastic. Like I'm sure nothing will happen if it falls off there onto the carpet, but
Yeah. But anyway, yeah, I like it's hard to. I don't know, like the whole again domestic international, like international seems to be holding up rather well, where domestic is, just not where you would expect it to be in some cases. And there are still COVID things. There are still so many other things affecting that, and like that's also affecting budget as well. I think Travis said before, like movies are more expensive, or something that was filmed during the pandemic is going to cost more because of the COVID protocols. But I don't know. Like like the theatrical experience is something that is very in flux right now.
you know what makes me sad with this conversation is that so right now, I think Joyride is tracking at something like 7 to 9 million for its opening weekend, and that had like first of all, I think it's a high quality movie that everybody
Yeah.
should see. It is a ton of fun, and I can't recommend it enough. And it really did feel like something that would genuinely deserve the kind of girls trip breakout that I think they were reportedly chasing with that movie. But it's just like it saddens me that it's not gonna hit that, because it deserves to hit that. And I feel like nowadays, like it's always been sky high pressure in this respect, but nowadays it's higher pressure than ever to be that mid to low budgeted movie that really needs to like
Yeah.
pop to break through. And we put so much pressure on those movies to do big so we can get more of them, and like that mentality makes sense, but it makes it hurt that much more when something doesn't pop when it deserves to.
That was the thing I was writing about. I forget what I was writing about for IGN. It was something about like Spider-Man and Fast X and cliffhanger endings. In any case, I was writing about big blockbuster films, and writing about Memorial Day weekend specifically for the box office. And Little Mermaid slays to like almost 100 million, and the combination of The Machine, Kandahar, the Gerard Butler action film Kandahar, and the Robert De Niro, and I'm blanking on the comedian's name. My father, whatever that comedy was, Sebastian. I'm going to butcher the last name, so I don't want to.
Did I just make that up?
No. You're very close.
Yeah, Maniscalco.
In any case, like that comedy they had, like there were 3 original films opening against Little Mermaid, and Little Mermaid obviously has the market for Disney, has the market for kids in that nature. Burt Kreischer's The Machine, definitely going to take the raunchy like comedy vibe. The other, the De Niro movie, and like that's a different comedy vibe, and Kandahar is an action film, so all different kind of films. But the combination of all those movies that weren't Little Mermaid barely made 10 million, I think. So like all of them made single digits. All of them were like 20 million, but like like you're looking at like the 15 to 20 budget range. And the idea that the original film is becoming this thing that is so, why make an original that's just going to flounder like that and just get murdered by whatever big tentpole or whatever big MCU, DCU, Disney film is up against it? Like that's the one mentality. But now we're seeing the MCU, the DCU, and all those blockbuster films aren't even turning a profit. So like, where is the midpoint? Like, are we actually going to get back to making originals for a low budget and seeing if they can make it to theaters? I don't know.
I wish. I mean, when it comes to like the big studio films, it almost seems like a problem that they somewhat caused for themselves. It's like not only they're making slightly less than or a lot less than they did before, but the budget seemed to keep going up and up and up. And I do know, like you brought up, it's probably with certain COVID protocols, and maybe some of these productions had delays that they just had to suck it up and cover the cost for, which that's another story. But like there's more to it than that. There's
100%
cost cutting measures that probably can be executed with like a little extra thought and creative planning and creative solutions. That would probably make the movies better overall too.
Yeah, and I will say, somebody did bring up horror seems to be doing well. That's because horror always does well. I mean, generally, like horror generally does well.
Did you see the Insidious outlook for the weekend?
No, I did not look at that yet because I don't think it's very good.
No.
It is?
Okay, so I'm on the Deadline article right now. I made sure to keep this open. So it made $5 million in previews. And this article says that amount of money is very close to what Indie grossed. And I'm jumping down to where Red Door posted the best previews ever for an Insidious movie, beating The Last Key. And then I'm going down a little further. Blah blah blah. Indie. But don't underestimate the vibrant power of the Red Door, which has a tracking number that's coming in at 22 million right now.
Good for them.
So,
okay.
You know what?
Okay.
So Insidious Chapter 2, for anyone who wants to know this kind of detail, that had the biggest opening at 40.2 million. So obviously 22 pales in comparison to that, but
I mean, that was coming off of Insidious, which was tremendously received and like won over horror fans instantly who were salivating for a sequel that was promoted very hard. So like that making 40 million makes sense. Like this is coming off The Last Key, which didn't work for me all that well. And kind of was one of those like, yeah, okay, it's a decent horror movie. And it comes years later.
That.
I know.
I have thoughts on that.
I know.
But the budget on Red Door is $16 million. So in one weekend, it will make back its budget.
Good for that.
Everyone knows I don't like getting negative and I don't want to rain on the movie's parade. I do fear that it's going to wind up seeing a significant week 2 drop. But that is just my prediction. But still, 22 million is a rock solid start for that movie. Whereas
for something they didn't market, for something they let just like hit theaters.
So strange. I don't
imagine they did more. Yeah, like I mean I get it. Like a ton of Sony marketing money is going into Spider-Man. We all know that. Like a ton of that focus is there.
There's one of our big box office hits of the summer.
Yep.
And a deserving one too. That's like that's the ultimate combo for me, is when a movie is really, really good and makes a lot of money.
Yeah. That's the one kind of like just feels good. Like it's just like the good story.
So right now, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse has a worldwide total of $617 million.
Okay.
And it has a reported production budget of $100 million. So,
heck yeah.
That seems like a more reasonable balance than some of the other films we've highlighted thus far.
Yeah.
Let me get to Indie too. Oh, you know which one really disappointed me? Elemental.
Oh yeah.
Listen, I'm not going to tell anybody it's the greatest Pixar movie ever made. Like it's definitely like mid-ranking Pixar for me, but like it's a solid, lovely, fun for the whole family kind of film that really could have appealed to every generation. I don't know. I get bummed when cool original ideas with beautiful animation like that just like pale in comparison to previous Pixar releases. Box office wise, at least.
Yeah. Like again, I'm trying to think if I guess it did get marketed pretty hard. And like now that I'm thinking, I did see a bunch of commercials for it and stuff. So I take that back. I think it did get its due.
And then that same weekend, there was another movie that came out that weekend and tanked. Do you know what that movie is, Matt?
That weekend? No, I'm just gonna let you go.
It was The Flash.
Oh fuck yeah! Well, yeah, that had so many reasons why it tanked. I will say a part of me is surprised it tanked because I didn't think people would care as much about the controversy and stuff of that nature. But I'm partly happy it tanked because that means people are paying attention and a lot of people have made a choice.
I have a hard time saying I'm happy it tanked because I'll repeat what I've always repeated with that movie. Hundreds, if not thousands of artists were involved in the making of the movie that had no control over one individual's behavior and choices, and they shouldn't necessarily be held accountable, and neither should their art for what someone else did. But
it's tricky.
Obviously a lot of problematic elements about how all that was handled. And it's not going to power through that. The worldwide total on that one right now is $249 million, and it cost a reported 200 to 220 to make. So
Yeah.
that movie is a hefty loss for the
Didn't
studio.
didn't they say that that's going down as one of the top busts, like a monetarily or
Like
something like that? I
busts
saw.
ever or
Yeah,
busts of the year?
no, ever. I saw like
I
it's
wouldn't
up
be
there with
surprised to
ever.
hear that.
Yeah,
That's a pretty, I mean, I like it really just like it came out and then it tanked. Like
yeah,
it tanked. A 72.5% weekend two drop is huge. And then like it's almost like an achievement to drop that much weekend two and then to drop huge again in weekend three with
insane.
65.4%. Like I don't even know how that's possible, but
And
it is
again, we're
going
talking about.
down.
Well, I was going to say, and too, like if we're talking about Elemental, if we're talking about The Flash, we're talking about movies that have a guaranteed two streaming date. Like that's the other thing where the curious part for me, it's all there tied to like, sure, I can rush out and see it, but yeah, and this too, I
This
agree with this
is a
comment.
huge, huge,
Yeah,
huge problem. John
don't
is
worry about these
spot on.
movies.
And
Yeah,
it's so weird on so many levels. Like I understand you want to move on and I understand
right.
it's difficult to keep news secret in this industry when like people are always like finding out information and leaking things. But on like the Warner Brothers side, why would they want to make this announcement and cut off money making opportunities for themselves? And then also, if I want to look at it from the artist standpoint, like what a big middle finger to them before their movies are even announced. You basically announce that you're going to wipe the slate clean and that really in the long run of the franchise these movies aren't really going to matter anymore. Like that's so disrespectful to the folks that you hired and the folks that you believed in at some point.
Yeah, and again, there is something to getting ahead of somebody spilling that or spoiling that if they wanted to hold it and try to. I understand of you just coming out and saying it and being like, "Listen, this is the plan. This is what we're doing." But again, like, there's no good answer there. It's another one of those
Mhm.
scenarios where like whatever you do, you're screwed. If it comes out later, then it's like, oh, James Gunn and Peter Safran were like hiding from everyone that they're just rebooting everything and they're doing it behind our backs, or they can get ahead and be like, "Listen, this is our plan. This is how we're going to handle it." So yeah, a no-win scenario where you just got to kind of just just do it, rip the band-aid
Mhm.
off.
That one kind of brings us to our last disappointment that's already been released. At least it's Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. You know when you let me see what the production budget on that one was. I imagine it was quite high. Nearly $300 million to make that movie. And right now it is sitting at 164 worldwide, and that is not where you want to be.
No, that is not where you want to be.
And like I don't have like a good positive answer for something like this. I mean, a lot of the box office articles that I've been reading keep emphasizing the importance of the youngest moviegoers and how they're the ones going out to see films. And then when
That's
I
true.
think about, a franchise like Indie that gets a lot of its fuel from longtime nostalgia, there's not a lot of
Crossover.
crossover there. And like I don't want to say that and suggest that, well, we should just completely obliterate continuing franchises like Indie, because I don't think that's the right answer either. But I liked this Indie movie. I would have given it a just positive review. I think it has issues, but ultimately I did enjoy it. But I will also say that I don't think it did as good of a job as it could have when it came to functioning as a movie that welcomes in new indie fans, in addition to giving the longtime fans what they want and love in the series. And I feel like all movies and all franchises should be thinking about that more. Someone in my family is going to see Insidious tonight, and when my mom told me about it, I was like, I don't know if they're really going to like it, because I'm afraid that they haven't watched all the other movies, or at least watched one and two, and that particular
You
viewing
need
is
to.
a
Yeah.
requirement. Like everyone always asks that whenever we post reactions on Twitter. They're like, "Do I need to see the first movies in the franchise to enjoy this?" The ideal answer to that question is always no. always no. You
Yeah.
shouldn't need to. It should be a story that stands on its own 2 feet. And then on top of that, it should inspire you to watch the installments that you missed. The second you make previous installments required viewing, you wind up with, like, let's say, people coming out of the movie being confused and giving it a lower cinema score, which
Right.
ultimately sways people and cuts down word of mouth and hurts box office. You just always want your movie, no matter if it's an original film or part of a franchise, to have the widest possible appeal. And I don't think
Yeah.
Indy did that very well.
No, and again, I don't think that's what a lot of franchises are doing very well right now. Every franchise is trying to take itself in a way that is a continued storytelling where you have to have seen the first few, you have to have seen this, you have to have seen that, because they want to have you see everything. They want to keep getting you to the theater. They want all that. Like, if it's sectioned off, then you can just see the one. You don't have to go back and rent the others, and you don't have to catch up with the MCU or the DCU, like all these cinematic universes versus, let's just make a string of movies and see what happens. It's harder to keep up with things, and when you fall behind, there's like no catching up. It's impossible because you have to pick and choose where you're going to catch up, and then you
Like,
fall behind on the new stuff, and then
I think the point that I just made about franchises and making new installments that welcome newcomers has, like, always been applicable. It is always in the benefit of a film and the box office to do that. But in particular, now more so than ever, because there's too much content to keep up with. Like, one of the worst things that the MCU in particular can do right now is deliver a show or movie that can't stand on its own 2 feet, because I am willing to bet that even some folks out there who consider themselves huge Marvel fans can't keep up anymore, myself included.
I haven't watched a single episode of Secret Invasion. I haven't, in the movies I'm caught up on at least, but then like start talking about Star Wars. Like I'm the one that kind of fell off Star Wars shows, and I haven't been able to catch back on because one comes out, and I know they're not all connected. I know they're not all like, you have to, but in the same sense, like it is. I've fallen behind, and you have to say, like, I can watch this cinematic universe right now. Like, this is what I can focus on.
That's part of the reason why I like Andor so much, is because there's a show that did it all. It was able to be something for people who didn't know the lore, but it was also something that, was really meaty and meaningful to people who know every stitch of that franchise. And I just wish more franchises would be doing stuff like that.
Yeah, well, again, there has to be some kind of shift. I think everything is dictated by the box office. Everything is dictated by what is making money and what isn't. Again, that is why we had the rise in superhero films. That's why nostalgia took over, and it is so hard to get an original film off the ground and in theaters these days versus going somewhere else. But if they stop, again, making money, I mean, like, it's weird to say making money because they are still making upwards of like 150 million domestic, and like that, those are large box offices, but that's the whole point of this conversation. Like, when they cost so much to make, they still aren't being as profitable, and they still aren't doing that. So like something has to change. And, can Vin Diesel make one of his Fast movies with half the budget? Like, I don't know.
Yes, he can. That's the point.
Yeah, he can, but will he? And that's the thing. Or does that franchise just die? So like those are the questions.
As much as I get excited by a star-studded Fast cast, cut the damn cast in half. Seriously, that was right there
a problem with Fast X.
Would immediately take out so much of the budget. And like, this is kind of like off topic ish, but like as you were just explaining all that, all I kept thinking too is that, like, I don't know, as these budgets balloon, I feel like certain departments probably are less likely to get what they're deserving of.
Animation. Like, we already know animators are being basically fucked over. Like,
and like, that's not good. Like,
no,
maybe
it's all serving the content and the product.
Like, if your movie has 15 A-list stars to put on the top of your poster, why not cut that group in half and pay your animators and your VFX artists a reasonable sum so they could deliver their best possible work and feel like they're getting what they're worth.
Yeah, but then you'd have to write actual character arcs for less characters instead of just going on cameos. So why would you do that?
Yep.
I did not like Fast X. We talked about this.
Yeah. I had fun with some of it, but it could have been better. Positive time now.
Should have been better.
We have 2 super chats that lean into this. Perri and Matt, I hope to meet you two soon. We hope to meet you too, Victor. Mission Impossible, Dead Reckoning, Barbie, and Oppenheimer. Maybe the box office's only hope. Tom Cruise to the rescue. I think that could be the case. The only reason I express some hesitancy in saying that is because I think they're going to do well for what they are, but it still is going to mean that by the end of the summer, we don't have any like massive blockbuster summer successes like,
Yeah.
let's say, a Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Like, we're
Yeah.
not going to have a bunch of $100 million plus opening weekends.
So like somebody already said it in the chat. So whoever said this, like I missed the name, but Oppenheimer is a 3 hour plus like
Yeah.
biopic. I get it's a Nolan movie. I understand it's a Christopher Nolan movie, and there is a baked in fan base for that, where all film nerds are going to go crazy for it. But I don't know. Is this going to be one of those movies that is seen by like every film critic in the world, but just doesn't connect with the audience? Like, I think that's the biggest question mark out of those three.
Oh, without a doubt. Just so people can get a sense of how these are tracking. Right now, the long range predictions on Box Office Pro have Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 hitting the range of 65 to 75 million.
Okay.
That's a movie that I would watch out for. Like, that is that's a rock solid opening total. I think I read somewhere that might be the largest if that happens for a Mission movie. But that's a movie that I'm allowed to talk about it. The review embargo is up. It's so good. I love this movie so much that it is a 2-hour and 40-minute movie-ish. Whatever. It's long. It does not feel long. And if like the second I get the opportunity, I will see that again. So like that right there suggests that it's going to have the legs to make a ton of money.
Yeah.
And you know, we always talk about opening weekend because, you know, it's a flashier headline, but ultimately the most important thing is a movie with legs. And I think that could be it.
Yeah, no drop off is what you want. Like, again, make the big splash, but continue that. Like, continue to do that. Again, this was one of my casualties where my parents were in town. I couldn't see it. So I've yet to see it, but I've only ever had, at the worst, a base level value of fun with a Mission Impossible movie. So like, yeah, like expectations are not even a thing for me. I can't wait to see this.
Yeah. So just so people have the facts, opening weekend, the highest for the franchise is 61 million with Fallout. I do think this is going to clear that easily.
Nice.
Dude, Matt, it's so good too. It's so good. I'm so excited for everyone.
I can't wait.
There's so many set pieces that I can't stop thinking about in it.
Yeah. This is one that I will actually see in the theater. Like 100%. Like the time will be made.
I'll pull this one up just because we're talking about Dead Reckoning. From the Jughead one, how are you doing, my friend? Greetings, Perri and Matt. Looking forward to Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. Can't friggin' wait. I love Tom Cruise. Love and respect from the UK, guys. I have high hopes you will not be disappointed. Can I use this as an opportunity to blab about an upcoming ladies' night too? Because we recorded it this morning.
I don't think I can stop you.
Yeah, Haley Atwell is on the show, and she's so fucking good in the movie. It's like we get Tom Cruise back. We know he's really good. We get Rebecca Ferguson. She's phenomenal. Simon Pegg. Like the list goes on and on of people we know are really damn good in this franchise. I feel like so many films in, it's difficult to come in and like make such a big impression in the middle of so many mainstays. Haley Atwell steals so many scenes in this movie, and one of my favorite things that she does is like she feels like she perfectly fits into like, you know, the secret agent action vibe, but she does it with this like really believable human uncertainty to her that makes her feel like a living, breathing person in the middle of like a blockbuster action movie, which I always really appreciate.
Can't wait.
I'll pull this one back up because we also have to talk about Oppenheimer.
Bop.
Is that what we're calling it? Is that where we all landed? Oppenheimer?
Better than ORB. Orby.
Yeah, no, I don't like that.
Yeah, Oppenheimer.
I don't think there's any question regarding who's going to win this fight. Yeah. Like no question at all.
Yeah.
But I will predict one has more legs than the other. And it's not the one that I think is going to win the opening weekend race.
Yeah, so I think what you're saying is Barbie wins. Or so wait, do you think Oppenheimer wins opening, but Barbie has legs?
I think Barbie has the flashier opening and then sees a steeper decline. Whereas Oppenheimer, I think, will have, you know, a lower opening total but it'll wind up lasting a little longer.
Okay, interesting.
Just
I think that
my prediction.
I think that might be true, but I'm the gambler in me thinks that Barbie wins total.
Let's see what Box Office Pro has to say about these two. Curious to see. Do they do grand total at the end? Yes, they do. So, oh no, they would go against what I just said to a point. Right now for opening weekend, they're betting Barbie makes between, this is a huge range, between 85 million and 115 million.
Okay. All right.
I might veer towards the higher side of that range. I feel like Warner Brothers has been going all out marketing this thing. And again,
Yeah.
like big names, flashy visual, big brand. I feel like everything is working in its favor for opening weekend.
Yeah.
And then Oppenheimer, they have it ranging from 45 to 57 million for an opening weekend.
Okay. I see that. I put my money on Barbie being also the winner with legs.
What was the Nolan release before Tenet? Dunkirk?
Oh, it was Dunkirk. Yeah.
Dunkirk?
I almost said Interstellar, but yeah.
Office, Mojo. I just want to see how much that movie made. Opening
Yeah,
weekend.
I mean, it's a war movie and then like a specific kind of like smaller scale.
Yeah.
Like,
but like here actually these numbers would reflect what I suggested in terms of it having a slower decline than something maybe like Barbie or anything for that matter.
Mhm.
So when Dunkirk opened, it made $50 million opening weekend. Its weekend 2 release was 47, drop was 47%.
47,
And then for the
okay.
next 3 weekends, it was in the 30% range for its drop, which is
Okay.
was pretty solid. And then also that movie probably benefited from award season buzz.
Yeah,
I would imagine.
100% that. And also, like, I mean, I guess you have to like pit the fact that like Oppenheimer's like straight dad movie. Like Oppenheimer has the dad movie, but also like again the cinephile effect, where Barbie is much more mainstream. Barbie is going to be able to reach wider audiences than that. I think it hits both demographics the right way. And some dude bros maybe like, not seen a Barbie movie, but like fuck that. Like I don't know. I think Barbie has the bigger chance here to score bigger.
I'd like to bet that even if someone's writing off Barbie because of those reasons, I think curiosity might get the better because it's going to be a very hot talking topic no matter what. So I just have a feeling even if someone's like, that movie's not for me, they might give it a shot just so they could be part of the conversation.
Or they get dragged to it and they end up loving it. Something like that stuff. Like,
possible.
So I'm going to stick with Barbie. That's my pick.
You know what's going to bring the good back to the box office, Matt?
What?
Talk to me. I
think it'll do fine
for how much that cost and for how much it probably cost A24 to acquire it. I do think it's going to be a big financial win for them.
A24 is very good at marketing those kind of horror movies and getting them to the right audience. So I think it'll do fine for the budget. Like again, like it's not going to blow away the box office this summer or anything of that nature, but for what it costs, for what it is, I mean, like for X and Pearl making as much of a splash that they did, I think Talk to Me is going to be just fine.
Mm-hmm. I definitely think it's going to be more than fine. I think it's going to be one of the bigger, surprise hits of the summer of the year. Wishful thinking, maybe, because I'm rooting for it, but I also do think it has that kind of power, and I think it's going to benefit from word of mouth and a really catchy core concept.
Yeah,
the other one that I'm worried about budget wise, I'm trying to look up what it costs to make this film. Haunted Mansion.
Oh yeah.
So, admittedly, this might be wrong. 157.
Because like,
it doesn't. The reported budget is 157 million for that movie, and right now, Box Office Pro has it ranging from 22 million to 32 million for its opening weekend, and those numbers don't align very well.
Once again, I have not seen much marketing for that. I had to like literally when I pitched it to review it, I had to be like, it's still coming out in July, right? Because like everywhere else says it's still coming out in November. Like they don't have like multiple sites don't have the date.
July 28th.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. So like I had to like reconfirm with editors to be like, no, it's coming out July. Like I swear, like I know it says November a bunch of places, but yeah, they're not doing well with this one.
Release dates are confusing now.
I know. Yeah. Again, it's an odd one to bury because I kind of feel like you can hit the horror market, you can hit the child market, you can hit like every market with this
Hmm.
Haunted Mansion like being a ride turning into a film, and you have the Disney aspect, blah blah blah. Like there's so many things you can harp on, and I just haven't seen shit for it.
I think we'll see that ramp up.
Yeah,
I feel like Oppenheimer has
over. Yeah,
has consumed a lot of the spotlight. But I think as we get closer to those movies being released, you're going to see Haunted Mansion promotion kick in because, like, that's another one from Disney, and they are like a major marketing machine. And
yeah, that's fair.
like even beyond the standard forms of marketing, like images and posters and trailers, I just have to imagine that they're going to do some like really flashy things at the parks
That's fair.
also, and make some noise that way. So I got a feeling we'll hear a lot about that.
Yeah, that's
Storm's
fair.
back here. Some Emmy talk. Wish a show like Industry got more attention for a chance. Also, Warrior season 3 is great so far, yet no one talks about it. Do you watch either of those, Matt?
No, I got yelled at last night for not watching Warrior 2. Monagle is a
Huh.
massive Warrior stan, and he's like, start fucking watching that. And I'm like, I fucking want to.
I keep meaning to watch Industry because I keep hearing great things about it, and I'm like always gearing up to do the binge, and then I get distracted by
I know.
something. You know what I'm
Warrior
binging
is
right now?
high on the list. What?
The Bear season 2.
I
Fuck
did. We
that.
just. Yeah, I just finished.
I
The
just
Bear
watched
is.
episode 6 last night. Holy
Is
shit, that might be one of the best episodes of television I've ever seen.
that is
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah, the holiday
My
episode. Yeah,
fucking God, she is going to win an Emmy for that performance.
it's fucking good.
Holy shit. That
It,
I was so stressed out.
well, and
So
it gets
stressed
better
out.
too after that. Like
I hear.
to me, it just keeps getting better. Like that is such a from that point until the end of that season, it's so good.
Every single time I watch a new episode and like it gets better and better, my heart sinks more and more that I had to do my IO It's Every Ladies Night before
I
getting the
know.
chance. Like I will not stop talking about that until I release that episode because it hurts. It hurts.
I know. But yeah, I did the same. That was always going to be a priority binge. That was the first thing I watched when my parents left.
Hi. So good. I can't wait. I'm gonna binge more tonight. I'll probably watch 7 and 8 tonight.
Hell yeah.
Do we want to switch gears and
Yeah, switch them.
Insidious? I'm just
Switch
filling
those gears.
in Insidious, the Red Door. Before we put this spoiler warning up, do you want to promote anything for the folks who have not seen Insidious, the Red Door?
Surely or you can follow me at Donatobomb on Twitter. I'm still on Twitter. I'm doing Twitter. Like I'm now thinking,
I'm
like,
so
where
curious
am
to
I?
hear how this list evolved.
Twitter, Instagram, Letterbox, those are there. Blue Sky, I'm using more and more. I think Blue Sky for me is going to be the takeover for if and when Twitter dies. But I'm using Blue Sky actually versus getting a Hive name and getting like a spoutable name but never going to it. Like I'm actually actively using Blue Sky. I'm on TikTok every now and then. And yeah, follow also my podcast, Certified Forgotten. We just had a conversation yesterday with C. Robert Cargill. We have some more guests coming up that I'm very stoked on. So we're doing things. We're feeling good.
I like all that. I'll remind you that Haley Atwell Ladies Night drops next weekend, but you could see a small clip from the conversation tomorrow on the Collider Extras YouTube channel. And the other thing that I'll direct people towards is I did a lengthy interview with James DeMonico, the creator of the Purge franchise, and like dude revealed a good deal of information about the plot of the Purge 6 and also the Purge TV show he is hoping to make, and also his new horror movie, The Home with Pete Davidson. So like there's a lot of like new information in those articles. So if you want to learn more about them, go read, because like he definitely has a very heavy focus on delivering a horror thrill, but doing so with some really strong subtext and meaning.
Yeah.
And the topics he is tackling fascinate me to no end. And I can't wait to see all of that.
I still remember interviewing him for like the Purge 2 or whatever. And the same thing. Like he was so
good interview.
He's a good interview, and he just told me everything. Like there was no holding anything back. And I was like, oh, you're just gonna tell me like where you want to go 3 movies from now. Holy shit. I'm like, okay.
He's got ideas too.
Yeah.
I like his process for coming up with stuff like that. It's like it's fun to hear about it. Alrighty, this is it. Insidious, the red spoilers.
That's fine. The red spoilers. We're fine. Just leave it. You're fine.
One of those days. I almost just
Insidious, the
wrote the
red.
Red Doors spoilers next.
Insidious, the red.
Insidious, the Red Door spoilers. Or we can spoonerism it and say Insidious, the Dead Roar spoilers.
Dead Roar.
Dead Roar. That's a
like
good name.
Good.
If you have not seen the film, this is the time to push pause, leave, go see the film, and then you come back to this video and you push play, and it'll kick off right here. We're going to talk about our reviews in general, but we're like, yeah, fuck it. Let's just talk spoilers as well. So it's going to be baked into this whole conversation. This is your last warning. Goodbye to everyone who hasn't seen it.
Bye.
You didn't like it at all. Did you not like it at all?
No. I think it's very middling. I think it's right in the middle, but I do go negative. I absolutely wrote a negative review. It just never comes together for me with how much of a stress I know Patrick Wilson is putting on. Because, like, you know, Patrick Wilson's playing the character. He's very invested in Josh. And this is absolutely a film that is about the Lamberts trying to persevere almost a decade after everything has happened. This is the, you know, I don't use this often, but this is popular right now. Like, it's a trauma horror take on Insidious. Like, we have a family that's broken. We have a family that's trying to heal after so much supernatural grief. And it's about them. And I don't think the way the movie handles being that film and the way they try to navigate all of those emotional beats blends well together with being an outright also scary Insidious film.
Oh, I thought those elements blended quite well. I just thought that the exploration of the trauma element and the strain it puts on their relationship was surface level. Like, I got what I needed from it to have a somewhat satisfying experience, and I was invested in it, and I cared, and I thought they were interesting ideas that they were bringing up, but I thought there was a lot more to mine from the rift that is formed between Josh and Dalton, and also just like the emotional turmoil one must, like, I loved the emphasis on the distrust Josh has in himself because of this fog that's happening. That I found that so fascinating. And that's a great example of where a story ideas ties in perfectly with a scare, because that paired with the MRI scene is like, that I think is A+ stuff. That is what the whole movie needed to be. But I don't think the connection is as strong with other scare set pieces.
No, the MRI scare, which is spoiled in the trailer, and I fucking hate that it is, because it is the best moment. And it's the best moment, so of course you have to use it in the trailer to get people in the seats. But at the same time, it's such a good set piece. And it's the hands down the best scare of the whole film. Because again, for me, there aren't many other good scares in the film.
I like the flippy stuff.
Yeah, the flippy stuff is okay, but also in the trailer. So again, they use that, so you know that's coming. There are just so many elements. Like, I agree with what you just said about how it is surface level and dealing with the emotional trauma of the family, because that is one of the big problems where you're focusing so heavily on it, but it's not going as deep or as like nuanced as you want to. Because we've had so many films to this point, like Hereditary, The Night House, down the list of like Relic, like all of these trauma horror films that have made this such a popular trend. And Insidious, The Red Door, just feels like it's like tracing from a sketchbook. Basically, it's trying to do the same thing, but it's just not as good at it. And again, that comes down to the fact, like, this is also a franchise that was built by Lee Winnell and James Wan, and they are very fucking good at what they do. And those like first few Insidious films there are so many good scares, and I know a lot of people don't like 3, but I still think there are some great scares in there, even if you don't like it. And Patrick Wilson, I will give credit, because he gets the MRI right. He gets the flippy right. Like, he does get some of these scares pretty right, but he doesn't have the same like atmospheric control of like going into the further and like all these other things where that's going into the further used to be a fucking terrifying ordeal. And in this film, it just kind of feels like another dimension. But like, I was missing so much of like the chilliness, like the just really frightening material.
It's not as atmospheric as when some other directors captured it. Yeah. I would agree with that. I mean, it seems like we're both in the middle, but I teeter positive and you teeter negative.
Yeah. The length killed it for me too. That did not have to be an over 1 hour and 45-minute movie. I felt
I didn't realize that.
I felt the midsection so hard. It was dragging.
So I didn't ever feel it drag, and I will credit one particular person with always upping the energy when I needed it most. It was Sinclair Daniel, the one that plays Dalton's friend in college. Like, what a like a refreshing burst of energy and life. And like, especially when a character like Dalton needs it. Like, dude is like mopey and sad. And who can blame him given what he's gone through? And like, the emotional, if Josh is feeling like that form of fog that sparks confusion, God knows what the weight of that blockage is doing to him. So I
Yeah.
do think Ty Simpkins played that character the way that he needed to, but that character did need to be paired with like a burst of light, energy, positivity, like her character. So I'm very glad that it was the two of them in the college material.
Yeah, but that also highlighted a problem for me because for how good she is and how good that character Chris is at being just the like no filter college bestie, that it's a very fun relationship between those two. But when she's stealing every scene she's in, that just highlighted for me that like I don't think Ty Simpkins worked for me all the time. I
Mhm.
don't know if I love the way he was playing that character, but that's more the material for me because he's
Yeah.
playing the material at that point. And again, that goes back to the surface value nature of it. It's like cool, you're angsty teen, cool, you're bad dad. Like that stuff was so hard to like get in for me. They were stereotypes. They weren't characters anymore, and these were characters that like Insidious 2, like the ending of Insidious 2, which they're playing off of greatly here. Like this is a
Yeah, I
direct
like that a
connection.
lot.
I love that connection, but also it once again highlighted for me how invested I was in Insidious 2 and the family and how much this film lost that investment for me. And I was like, they weren't the same people anymore. Like these turned into archetypes versus the Lambert family that I gave so much of a shit about.
Well, they're in a very different like it's a very logical leap in terms
It
of
is. Yeah.
what happened to Dalton and Josh at the end of Insidious 2 and how they're dealing with the further now, but the family, like as individuals and as a family unit, completely different characters. And like it makes sense. There's
It
no reason
does.
they shouldn't be. But I do think that making that kind of leap and not exploring the middle enough and like feeling Josh being pulled away from his family in particular and Josh and Dalton being drawn away from each other too. I feel like without getting to experience some of that, it all of a sudden creates like, an unwanted disconnect from the characters at the start of the film.
Yeah. It was. I understand what it's trying to do. I like some of what it's trying to do. But the overall execution for me is just such a unfortunate comparison to the other films of the franchise. And
Mm,
it's hard not to at that point. Like when you're 5 films in, you do have to look back and, this isn't a Friday the 13th film where like they are trying something different every single time.
yeah.
This isn't the Insidious franchise and everything has been very insidious to it. And maybe that's a little bit unfair, but it's the same thing why I don't really like the Conjuring 3 versus the other two Conjuring movies. It's like you just compare them to what's come because it's impossible not to. It's the same
Yeah.
character, same everything, and there's just such a noticeable downturn. Like this is Insidious Light versus what is a much better brew from the first package or whatever you want to say.
I get it. I get it. I think the stuff that worked well enough for me, and the ideas of where these characters are, what they've. I really liked the idea of them having to deal with the past rather than to like block it off. Because
Mhm.
as much as I do love Insidious too, that movie wraps up and they're like, oh, you could just like snap your fingers and free yourself of the further. Like that's a nice easy
Yeah,
fix. Like why didn't they just do all this sooner? But like meanwhile, they did it to Josh at a point. But anyway, I love the fact that this movie doesn't let them get away with that. And it does feel like they put the characters through like very human real repercussions for having leaned on that for so long,
yeah,
like, in terms of managing the trauma and having, like, emotional scarring left and then, like, needing to, like, reprocess who they are at this point in their lives, given the fact that they didn't have access to this information for so long. But basically, there's a lot to mine in what I just said, and, like, when you have all of that and you only have, even though you found it a bit long, if you have a sub 2-hour movie to explore all that,
yeah.
you're only gonna get, like, the thin layer at the top, and that is what happened. But I find the ideas interesting enough that, I was invested, I was interested, and I'm thinking about it now too.
Yeah, I also like there's a slight attempt at connecting artistic expression with also like
Yes.
overcoming things, like the fact that like you can use
I like that.
creativity and art to, look back on your past and confront grief and do all these things. Like I think there's a fun way to explore that too. But once again, it's just what you said. These are all ideas, and I don't think they actually know how to close them all off. And you're fighting with a bunch of very interesting ideas that aren't given enough time. And again, I think Wilson's direction is a little distracted between being a horror film and being a drama. And there's no, I don't think they come together. So that's where that, like, I think that's the difference between the two of us. Like I go negative because I don't think those two forces ever unite to make something that is like Insidious 2. And this just feels to me like you're making two different movies and you don't know how to make it. Like they're just butting heads.
Yeah. I hear you. I understand. Different opinion, but I do get where you're coming from, and I'll very much understand if some people like this movie, some people don't. So it goes. As long as we all express our opinions with respect, treat each other like human beings, like the way we would want to be treated, that's all that matters.
Yeah. Also, Last Key's bad too, though. So
no, it's not. I like the Last Key a lot. A lot. You know? And you know what? I'm even stopping myself short of saying Insidious 3 is bad because I still haven't done my homework. I have not seen Insidious 3 since I walked out of my press screening way back in the day, like a big whiny baby about it. So I really do need to give that another chance.
Could be the Invitation all over again.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, you never know. All right. Tis din time over here. So we will wind this down. We don't have anything to plug. We just have to end the episode.
We plug right. Fine. We did the plugs ready. Go rewind and go back right before the spoilers if you want.
I will say a happy weekend to all, and we will see you next weekend for a brand new Merri Hour. Goodbye.